What's good, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. So, today we're talking about a category of supplements. You definitely heard of them, adaptogens, which are a group of essentially herbs and natural compounds that help your body adapt to stress. They support your recovery and can even potentially improve performance. So, whether you're trying to build muscle, lose body fat, improve your energy, cognitive function, or just manage stress better, give yourself a layer of extra resilience across your day, reduce your cortisol. Adaptogens can help you do that. So, in today's episode, we're going to break down first what adaptogens are and how they work. Then, we're going to go over some of the most well researched adaptogens like Ashwagandha, Rhodiola, Siberian Ginseng, Rura, Bacopa, and holy basil. Then, how to choose the right adaptogen for your specific goals or stack of adaptogens for a robust stress management supplement stack. So, basically, adaptogens are essentially they're a class of herbs and compounds that help the body adapt to stress and kind of restore homeostasis. Homeostasis being where the body is like happy, at peace, we could say. And while they've actually been used in Eastern medicine for centuries, they've only recently honestly gained popularity if we're talking the grand scheme of things, especially in the sports slash performance supplementation world. So their primary function is to modulate the stress response. So they balance hormones like cortisol, give us a extra layer of resilience against environmental, physical, and also psychological stresses, which is pretty cool. Now, the term adaptogen was actually first coined by a Russian scientist in 1947 who defined them as substances that help the body resist various stressors, including physical, chemical, and biological stress. And to be classified as an adaptogen, a compound must meet three main criteria. First, it must be nonspecific and help the body resist a wide range of stressors. Second, it must help restore homeostasis. And third, it must not cause harm or disrupt normal bodily functions. One of the primary ways adaptogens do this is their ability to influence the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is the body's main system for managing stress. So, when you experience stress, whether it's from training or lack of sleep, mental, relationships, girls yelling at you, or even poor nutrition, the hypothalamus in your brain detects that signal. It then sends a message to the pituitary gland, which acts like a relay station and signals your adrenal glands to release cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol, definitely not bad. In fact, it's very necessary. Some people say you just got to slap cortisol into the floor, take as many cortisol blunting supplements as you possibly can, and I've seen that on my feet a couple times. Definitely not the case. You need cortisol. Helps you wake up in the morning. It helps you mobilize energy during a workout, and you need it to be alert. If your cortisol is suppressed, which you can get there from being in a chronic stress state for a long period of time, trust me, you're not gonna feel good. So the issue is when cortisol is chronically elevated, which is what happens when we're under ongoing periods of stress. It starts to definitely work against you. You're going to start to see poor sleep, reduced muscle recovery, increased fat storage, definitely suppressed hormones like testosterone, even brain fog, mood issues as well. And this is where adaptogens can come into play. So they help normalize the HPA axis response, meaning they don't just blunt cortisol across the board. Instead, they help the system respond more appropriately. They also work by increasing heat shock proteins and antioxidant defenses, which then protect cells and organs from damage that can be caused by chronic stress. And because of stress affects basically every system in the body, adaptogens have been studied for quite the variety of health benefits across the board, like mental health, mental clarity, metabolic health, cardiovascular function, also reproductive health as well. And there's also a growing body of research that supports many of the traditional uses of adaptogens, especially when it comes to reducing stress, improving cognitive performance, as well as most specifically combating fatigue. So, some studies have shown that certain adaptogens can help improve sleep quality as well, and even regulate blood sugar and cholesterol levels. And while not all adaptogens act through the same mechanisms, they all aim at the same outcome, helping the body stay resilient in the face of stress and maintaining her internal balance or homeostasis so that you can perform and recover at a higher level. All right, so now that you've got a sense of what adaptogens are and how they actually work in our body, let's talk through some of the most effective ones, how they differ from each other, then how to use them based on your specific goals. So the first one I want to get into, definitely the most well-known one, ashwagandha. It's very well studied. This herb has actually been used in medicine for thousands of years, and today it's probably the first thing people think of when they hear the word adaptogen, and that's honestly with good reason, because modern research continues to show that ashwagandha isn't just useful for lowering stress and cortisol, it can also improve recovery, can boost cognitive performance, support hormonal balance, increase testosterone via its relationship with cortisol, and even enhance strength and endurance in athletes as well. There's been studies that show that. So all of these benefits coming back to how it interacts with the body's stress system, specifically by modulating cortisol, which is again our main stress hormone. Now, the active compounds in it have been shown to regulate the stress response in a way that reduces anxiety, improves sleep, and supports recovery without completely shutting down the natural cortisol rhythm we need during the day. And if you're curious what that rhythm is, a healthy cortisol curve looks like a rise in the morning, then a slow taper off down into the evening. Now, in terms of the evidence, for ashwagandha is pretty damn strong. There's a systematic review that read 40 studies, and it showed consistent reductions in stress, improvements in sleep, and some really good effects on testosterone and reproductive health as well. So if you're someone who is training hard or living more of a high stress lifestyle, which to be honest is most of us, ashwagandha definitely does offer a ton of benefits. Now, from a performance standpoint, there is data showing that it increases strength, like actual improvements in 1 rep maxes on squat and bench, as well as a better VO2 max and faster recovery. And there's even evidence that it helps shift body composition by lowering abdominal fat, likely due to its cortisol lowering effects. And ashwagandha also has some solid cognitive benefits, like improved reaction time, memory, executive function. So it's not just for us guys looking to perform and recover and get the most out of our physique outcomes, but it's also incredibly useful for anyone who needs to perform at a high level mentally. Say their job is very mentally demanding, and it could be a great addition to someone's supplement stack. And because chronic stress can suppress hormones like testosterone and then interfere with thyroid function, managing stress with something like ashwagandha can indirectly support your hormonal health as well. Now, when it comes to choosing an ashwagandha product, you want to look for a standardized extracts like KSM 66. There's one called Sensorol, and I believe there's one called Shoden, because those are the ones that have been most studied. I always go with KSM 66, and dosing usually ranges from 300 to 600 milligrams a day, but some studies have used up to 1,000 with no issues. So personally, I recommend taking it in the evening because of its calming effect. Some people think it kind of sedates them, but some people prefer splitting their dose between morning and night, like 300 milligrams in the morning, 300 milligrams at night. I personally find I don't want its effects necessarily earlier in the day, but to each his own, and would use Rhodiola, which is the next adaptogen we're going to talk about. So where ashwagandha is more calming, good for lowering cortisol, Rhodiola is great for increasing endurance, sustaining mental focus. So let's say you have a long day of work ahead, or a work block where you really want to stay locked in, or you have like class after class after class, or you're in school. So you need to be dialed in for an extended period of time. It can reduce perceived fatigue as well, especially during training, and it kind of help that fatigue response after training. And it honestly doesn't just mask fatigue, it actually changes how your body and brain perceive effort. So there are studies that have shown that taking around 200 milligrams of rhodiola before a workout can increase endurance, reduce the feeling of exertion, so you could potentially get more reps, and even speed up recovery without causing a crash like you get from caffeine. Like, yeah, you take some caffeine pre-workout, you're definitely gonna be able to get some more reps, but definitely you might also crash after. So rhodiola is also cool, in my opinion, because instead of just lowering cortisol, it will modulate cortisol. So if cortisol is too high, it'll bring it down, but if cortisol is too low, it will bring it up. And it's been studied for also improving cognitive function, things like memory retention, mental clarity, resilience against burnout. So guys who are just grinding, working just nonstop, building their business, this would be a great tool to add to your stack. So if you're someone, again, trains hard, has a high workload, and maybe most likely some other additional stress in your life, rhodiola would be a great addition to help you stay sharp and energized without overstimulating your nervous system. And like I said, I suggest taking it in the morning or pre-workout, somewhere between 200 and 300 milligrams depending on the day. Or what I do with clients, if they're going through a really stressful period, because rhodiola has a half-life of 6 hours, I'll do 100 milligrams 3 times per day. So you get an extra layer of resilience across the whole day. Another way to do it is if you're going through a very stressful period or you're just in a calorie deficit and you want to manage cortisol as best as possible. 200 milligrams upon wake, and then 200 milligrams early to mid afternoon was also another way to do it. Now, there's also Siberian Ginseng, which is another adaptogen on this list. Definitely a solid one. It's a bit more subtle, I would say, not as well known as Ashwagandha or Rhodiola, but it's still incredibly useful for the right person. It doesn't really give you the same acute effect as Rhodiola or Ashwagandha, but it is great for increasing overall resilience, immune support as well. And it's one of those like steady daily adaptogens that works best over time. Something you'll notice when you're more consistent with it. Now, next, let's talk about definitely a lesser known one. I only found out about this one like honestly 6 to 8 months ago, and I've been into subs for like two years ish. So relatively new to me, but it's definitely effective, and it's called Rura. Now, this is actually a patented blend of two plant extracts, magnolia and someone called Felinodrum. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Could be totally off, but don't hold it against me. And they work synergistically to help calm the nervous system. So where ashwagandha and rhodiola focus on majority cortisol performance, Rura definitely has a place for mood stability, getting you relaxed, as well as stress-related eating as well. So if you know in the evening you're super stressed, and then you just kind of open up the fridge, see what you got in there or the pantry. Relora can be something to look into, which would be great. And research shows it can reduce cortisol spikes. It can improve sleep quality. And like I said, there's studies that show it reduces stress-induced cravings, which again, huge. So I like Relora at night. In the evening, I take it with my evening stack, typically in the range of 250 to 300 milligrams, since it does have that calming effect, and it pairs really well with ashwagandha. And together, they definitely promote deeper sleep, lower nighttime cortisol, so help with that natural cortisol curve you want, which is lower in the evening, and it helps you get into rest and digest, that parasympathetic state before bed, which you definitely want to be in. Now, next on the list, one of the cool ones, Bacopa manuri, which is technically both an adaptogen and a nootropic, meaning it's not just stress balancing, but also brain boosting, you could say, performance enhancing for the brain, and it's actually been used for centuries as well. As in medicine, as a memory and learning enhancer, and modern research has shown that the active compounds called bacosides promote communication between neurons and support neuroplasticity. So they basically help your brain learn faster and retain more information. And they've also been shown to reduce anxiety, lower cortisol, improve memory recall, information processing speed. But one key thing about Bacopa is that it's kind of like a long-term, long-game adaptogen. Like you don't feel it instantly like you would rhodiola potentially. Some people may, if they're really in touch with their body, but most of the benefits kind of show up after consistent use for 4 to 6 weeks. So this is one I take daily, usually around 300 to 450 milligrams of a standardized extract, and preferably with a meal since it is fat soluble. This is an awesome addition if you're a student, if you're an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants more mental clarity, less stress, a little bit of a mood lift as well. And if you stack it with rhodiola in the morning, you get a nice blend, a nice nootropic blend of focus, energy, reduced mental fatigue, of course, and then stress resilience as well. Now, another amazing adaptogen worth adding to the conversation is holy basil, also known as Tulsi. This one is the most calming and restorative adaptogens out there, and where Bacopa, Rhodiola are kind of boosting focus, a little bit performance, mental performance. Holy basil kind of quiets the mind, soothes the nervous system. It works by balancing cortisol, can reduce anxiety. Also, there's some evidence that shows it supports your immune system, and there's some really interesting research on its ability to lower blood glucose, support cardiovascular health, and also act as a natural anti-inflammatory. So, I personally love using holy basil during, let's say, if I have a day super high stress, especially if you notice that stress is leading to like mood swings or irritability. A lot of people tend to take it in tea form, which you can drink in the evening to help transition into a more relaxed state. But you can also get it in capsules, usually around 500 milligrams per day. And it's also great for people who deal with emotional eating or like stress snacking. Same with Relora. So you could stack them because it does help calm that urge driven by cortisol spikes. So now that we've covered the most common, I would say, most efficacious in my opinion, how do you actually use these things strategically? So, like anything else, it depends on the context. You got to start by asking yourself, what's the outcome you're looking for? Because while all of these adaptogens can help manage stress, they do it in different ways. So, let's say your main issue is energy. Maybe you're a little more fatigued throughout your work days. Your training feels meh. You're not really hyped up for training. You're likely built to some fatigue. I would take a deload. But You want a nootropic effect, then Rhodiola Rosé, probably the best option for you. Again, I use it every morning as part of my nootropic morning stack for before my morning work block. Now, if what you're dealing with is, say, the opposite, say, more chronic stress, you're a little trouble sleeping, you're waking up to the night kind of on alert, you're on edge, feel like you're stuck in that sympathetic state, nervous system wise, that's where you could definitely benefit from ashwagandha or a combination of ashwagandha and rhodiola to kind of come in, help downregulate cortisol, improve sleep, help you chill while supporting overall recovery as well. And then there's Siberian Ginseng, which again, more of a long game compound. You're not going to take it and then feel an effect immediately, but over weeks and months, it's been shown to help build stamina, strengthen your immune system, and definitely keep you more resilient through periods of extended stress. So whether that's like a training block, you know you're going to be potentially overreaching, you're going to be going hard, you're in a gaining phase, you're just finishing off your gaining phase, then you got a maintenance period after, so you're just like, let me just add a little bit more sets, and then personally I wouldn't do that. But nevertheless, or just mental stress. So like your exam season would be a great example, or potentially a work project, a week at work where you're going to be there long hours, or you're building your own business, you got a busy time ahead. You could add it in, and in a month you might notice some benefits. So to wrap all this up and give you something practical, because I know a lot of information thrown your way about these adaptogens, but how I'd stack these for a really robust stress management protocol. First, in the morning, I start with rhodiola, 200 milligrams. That'll help, boost your energy, focus, give you mental alertness, a layer of stress resilience. If you need extra mental clarity or you're in a heavy learning phase, you could pair it with Bacopa to support memory and reduce that mental fatigue as well. Then throughout the day or 6 hours later, early afternoon, you could take another 200 milligrams of rhodiola, or if you feel holy basil, either as a tea, you could take it in the afternoon or capsule form, like 500 milligrams, to kind of help calm your nervous system, keep cortisol in check. Then evening time, I'd go with ashwagandha plus Rura, kind of downshift into that parasympathetic state, get you nice and chill. It's going to help improve your sleep quality, lower that nighttime cortisol, and get you some optimal sleep. So that is a wrap on today's episode. If you're the type of person that pushes hard or has just a lot on your plate, maybe you're after physique goals, performance goals as well, potentially, then your day-to-day work, adaptogens can definitely be a great tool to add to your routine. So we broke down what they are, the most popular ones, how they work, and most importantly, how to use them in a way that's strategic. So you're kind of giving your body what it needs to adapt, perform, and recover in your specific situation, in your context. So I appreciate you for watching. If you want 30 days of free advice to fast track your transformation, your physique, health, performance, your nutrition done for you, bless out your macros for you, give you a meal plan, grocery list, 2 free training plans as well I put together, and more, a lot more. You can click the first link in the description for coaching, one-to-one with myself, and discount codes on the supplements I use. You can also catch that in the description, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.